17 years ago. So I homeschooled him from kindergarten till graduation, as well as my other three kids. My kids now are ages 21, 19, 17, and I have a junior high. My older two kids are both successful college students, so apparently whatever we did didn't mess them up so badly that they couldn't get in, so that was good.
I like that answer. So we're checking in with you because homeschooling can be quite intimidating for families. And we wanted to make sure that we gave families an opportunity to set themselves up as best they possibly can at home. Many families are still working from home right now, and other families might have, older siblings teaching younger siblings, things like that. So if you can just kind of start out, we're being thrown into this homeschooling situation, and, talk to us a little bit about how to get started. What kind of space do we need to create for our kids? How would we set them up for success in this situation?
Well, I think the first thing you have to do is to recognize your mindset going into it. Really, homeschooling is really nothing more than an extension of your parenting. So many of your parents, you all taught your kids how to use the potty at some point. Many of you would have taught them how to ride a bike. This is nothing more than an extension of that. And it's actually even a little easier because you're not in this by yourself. You have all the teachers behind you who are trying to work with you and make this work and help your kid be successful. So, every time you start to get overwhelmed, just take a deep breath and remind yourselves, you can do this. You've been parenting for how many years? And this is just another way of parenting. And so, you can do it. And if you get stuck, you have people to go to who are in your corner looking to help you. So that is the first thing that you have to remember. When it comes to homeschooling, just like parenting, you're going to have good days and bad days. You're going to have some days where you breeze through your lessons with no problem, and other days where it feels like it's just all going wrong and, understand it. But that's what parenting is too, if you think about it. We have days like that too. So you just, keep going, keep trying, tweak things as you go along. You'll figure out what works best and what doesn't. And just don't give up. As far as the space goes, first, when you realize you're homeschooling, you have to know that it is very personal. There's not a one-size-fits-all for homeschooling. That each one of you has to your advantage because nobody knows your kid like you do. So you know whether or not your kid is somebody who's really easily distracted. If they are, then your space is going to look different than a kid who's super creative and gets inspired because they have their artwork hanging all over. So for us, I found my kids, they were usually in the easily distracted. So we tended to do our schoolwork at the kitchen table. One of the things is to have everything ready to go as far as the supplies go. So all of our books were in the kitchen. They were either in a crate or on a shelf. I had, my kids used pencil boxes where they kept all of their school, including like calculators, anything at all that we needed was right there. Because if you have to stop and to get up and look for stuff, you're going to find it's really hard to pull them back to doing whatever it is that they were supposed to do. So that's do our table work. But see, the beauty of the homeschooling part of it, get to put into it now, is that you don't have to leave it there. Every bit of work does not need to be done at a desk or at the kitchen table. A lot of times we would spend our days for reading. Maybe first thing when we were in bed together, we would sit and snuggle when they woke up, or we would go outside on the deck on a nice day. Sometimes we would read in our hammock. You can be creative and make it fun for them too in their space, as long as it's not something that's causing them a distraction.
That makes perfect sense. So everybody's space is going to look a lot different according to their kids' ages and attention levels, right? What might work for my younger child probably isn't going to work for my 12-year-old daughter.
No, but you also have to keep in mind that, a situation like yours, Laura, you might have more than one kid working on stuff at the same time. So for us, I had 3 or 4 kids homeschooling at the same time. The dining room table seemed to be what worked best because everybody had a little bit of space, but I was accessible to each one of them, as they were working. When they were doing stuff on the computer, each one of them had a set of headphones so that they weren't disturbing each other when they were listening to their lecture.
Oh, I like that idea. Some headphones would be good to have in that supply bin. So, what do you think about schedules? I know some families are pretty rigid with schedules. Other families just kind of wing it and play it by ear. When it comes to starting education at home with our kids, what do you think we need to do as far as their schedule goes? Should we be maintaining a rigid schedule like they do in school and try to mimic that? Or, how do we go about scheduling?
This is, again, one of those things that I have found for us that it's a very personal choice. You have to look at what is working for your kid. Right now, for my junior high student, we started at 8 o'clock. That helps him because he knows to expect that 8 o'clock, he has to turn off the TV or the video game or whatever he's doing before school starts, and that's our start time. So that seems to help him out. You might find, some mornings that's just, you're having a slow start, or maybe you want to make breakfast this morning and sit down and do your first lesson over breakfast. It's personal. It's what works for your child. As far as scheduling throughout the day, some people would tell you to hardest subject first, but I will tell you that for my child, that wasn't the best way to go. The kids that like to do the hardest first are usually the kids that like to jump into the deep end of the pool. But my kid was one of those, kind of wade into the pool, not just jump right in.
Gotcha.
So I found it was easier if I would say to him, hey, do you want to start today with reading or math? Letting him have a choice and have a little bit of ownership and control in what was going on, but also knowing then that we were going to do his hardest subject second. I don't like to leave it till after lunch because if you wait too long, then you have kids who are tired and just ready to be done.
Right.
So I do like stuff in the morning, but if you give them a choice, it really does seem to help.
Okay. And using those timers as key indicators so that they can hear, the microwave timer was set for 15 minutes for lunch or things like that so that they know they have a cue as to when to return. Is that a good choice, do you think?
It is. I think it's really important for parents to understand that when your kids spent the day at school, they did not spend the day sitting at their desk doing work from beginning to end.
Right.
And so you don't want to fall into that trap when you're homeschooling them, thinking they're going to sit at the table and go through all their work and just take a little break for lunch. Especially the younger kids. It doesn't work that way. When
Right.
I used to teach, when I taught kindergarten, I used to purposefully plan a lesson where we were sitting and then a lesson where we got up and moved to a different space and did the next lesson in a different space, or the next lesson was an active lesson. So you kind of want to realize, don't expect your kid to just sit there the whole time because that's unrealistic.
Yeah.
So it's a good idea to watch the cues from your kid. If it seems like your kid needs a break, then give them a break. I used to try to make sure that a break wasn't too long because the last thing you need is for your kid to get up and have his break be going and getting involved in such a playtime that it was then a battle to get him back to the table. So
Right.
that's where I would use a timer. Like a break might be 15 minutes. You have 15 minutes to go jump on the trampoline maybe, or 15 minutes to draw, just something like that, just to break it up a little bit.
Okay.
The other thing I would do when I did the schedule is, after we did math, I would know that the next subject, math right now is probably my junior high. It's his hardest subject for him. After we do math, I know that he's going to need to get up and our next lesson should be something else or something that doesn't require him to problem solve the same. So that's a good thing to do as well. If math is your kid's hardest subject, follow it up with something that they're successful in so that they don't feel too down on themselves about it. Or if math went really well that day, make sure you congratulate them on it and tell them what a good job they did.
That makes perfect sense. So as far as I'm a to-do person, I'm a post-it note kind of person. My daughter Addison is the same way. She has, her list of to-dos every single day, and she likes checking stuff off. Do you think that now that we're entering into educating at home and helping our kids navigate that, would it be helpful for all kids to kind of have that checklist or that schedule of daily assignments, and help them organize it? Or how do you think we should structure that?
Again, this is going to be like the standard homeschooling answer. It's personal and it depends on your kid. So you have to know your kid. If your kid would get overwhelmed seeing that they have 8 different subjects to do, then you don't want to list 8 different subjects to do. You might want to just put down the morning, we're going to do this in the morning. And then, once you finish those things, have lunch, and then put up the list of what you're going to do in the afternoon. At my house, we use a dry erase board, and I list the subjects that way, and just very briefly, like what we're going to do, just a line or two.
Okay.
My son, we kind of laugh about it because he really get to erase the things off of there so that he can see his list getting smaller and smaller and feel like he's accomplishing something and getting closer to the end of his day.
Right.
But again, that might not be what the kid wants to do. So if it doesn't work for you, that's okay. Don't do it that way. Try something else.
So kind of figuring out what works for your family and not checking out Pinterest for all of the beautiful schedules and, beautiful wall things that folks have created, which is great if that's what works for your kid. That's probably not going to be what you see on my wall this coming week. I'll probably have Post-it notes or an erase board or something. We were talking about using clothespins and having each subject on a clothespin, and then when they were done, they just clipped it to the other side, to the done side. So I guess everybody will be different in that area, and you can be creative and find what works for your kids. And if it doesn't work the first time, make sure you revise and change it up for the second time, right?
Yeah, and I think it's important that the worst thing you can do as parents is start getting caught up in seeing what everybody else is doing and feeling inadequate about it. It's one thing to brainstorm with your friends and to encourage each other and try to get some different ideas for what would work. But you have to be really, really careful because we all know by now that when people post pictures of their smiling kid during spelling lesson, and they post that on Facebook, what we don't see is that 5 minutes later, the kid might have been crying or yelling or whatever. And, you have to be careful not to allow looking at other things make you feel like a failure because
right.
You're not, everybody's kid is different. What everybody's kid needs is different. And, maybe your kid is going to connect with something really creative, but somebody else's kid might not. Might
Absolutely.
Feel like simple is what's important.
I love that. It's easy to watch others' highlight reels and think that that's the way it should be, but generally speaking, you're exactly right. There's been 5 or 6 pictures, taken before that one of them gleaming in the camera. What about snack time? Now, here's something I've found in the last week. My kids think that they should be eating every, 15 minutes. It's been crazy. So I keep reminding them, use your school stomach, which usually means, at school they're not eating all the time, all day long. So we've done a snack in the morning now and then lunch and then a snack later on. What do you think about snacking during the school time?
I feel that snacking is an absolute, you should go for it as a parent. It's one of the few times as a parent, you're going to spend a lot of time feeling like you are trying to keep them on task and, like you're, really having to be an authoritative person. If you go and allow snack time to be a chance for you to just laugh a little bit, have a good time. Hey, what kind of crazy snack are we going to make for our breakfast? For our morning snack. Don't do anything that's going to take too much time because you'll find that's a pain, and it pulls you away from the school day too much. But, go ahead and buy something special, some kind of special snack that you only give out for school. That's not
Gotcha.
something they would cover, something like that.
Yeah.
You can do some crazy things when you're homeschooling them. Like, it's okay if they stay in their PJs. If that's what works for you guys, then go ahead. They don't have to, get up and get ready for school every day. You just want to do what works best for you. Some days it might be really elaborate, and some days it might be, hey, we made it through the day today, and that counts as something really good. So,
right.
But be creative. And the other thing you can be creative is where you do your snacks. You could do a quick snack out on your porch. You could do a quick snack underneath your dining room table. Throw a cover over it, make it into a tent. This is what we're going to do special. It's a chance to just have a little bit of fun and laugh with them, because it's going to be really important that you still laugh with them a little bit, rather than just try to tell them, you need to do this or this or that.
Right. So, power struggles we sometimes get into with our kids just in day-to-day parenting, right? So I'm imagining a whole nother layer whenever you have stepped into the role of a teacher and a parent, which you are. For us, we're actually not going to be put in that role, although we'll be helping them navigate the virtual education world. We're not actually the ones teaching, because they'll be able to go online and still talk with their teachers who can help them with that. But if I had to guess, I will probably imagine most of us at some point will run into that power struggle at home with our kids during this coming week and the next couple of weeks. Do you have any suggestions for us whenever we hit that power struggle head on, and we have, a child maybe just digging their heels in and saying, nope, not doing that assignment? What advice would you give us as parents as we move into that world?
Well, first of all, understand that, yes, that absolutely is going to happen. Anybody who ever sat down with their kid at homework on a rough night knows that happens.
Right.
A couple things that I have found to be helpful. First of all is I don't let my kids I would never let them use electronics, or sometimes it would be outside phone time or watch TV and stuff. That didn't happen until schoolwork was done. So, even today with my junior high, if he's having a bad day and he's fighting with me about stuff, he knows that if he refuses to do something, that means he, in essence, is grounding himself, because he's not going to be allowed to use the computer later, or not going to be allowed to play his video game.
Right.
So it's really important that you let the kid know that they have a choice whether or not they do something. But if they choose not to do it, there are consequences that go with that choice. And they have to own up to knowing that their choice, they are choosing the bad consequences.
Right.
You're not the bad guy as the parent. It's their choice. So, that can be a hard thing to do. But the other thing that you have to remember is your situation is a little different than a typical homeschooler, because if you are in a situation where your child is really frustrated, you don't have to necessarily tackle that head on with them. If they're frustrated because of a concept, that's when you just call in the teacher. So maybe you want to make sure that they're harder subjects, that you are doing them during the time when your teachers are available.
Right.
I think you said that most of the teachers have, some of them have actually times posted when they are available. So make sure you do all of their math during that time, so that you're not trying to do it at 6 o'clock at night when the teachers aren't available and now it is on your shoulders. Make it easy for yourself as the parent. I
love that. So really being in touch with parents or with teachers during their hours. I hadn't thought of that. And that will work perfectly for me, who's not a math, I'm not real great in math. So for me, Addison's math work, I absolutely have to rely on her teachers or her aunt, because those are our lifelines. I'm not great in that subject, so I already know that. So that will be important for me to check ahead and find out when her math teacher is going to be available online, so that I'm not put in that position where I'm trying to answer questions about a math assignment. So I like that answer, and that's a good tip there. Let's think about, we went through schedules and power struggles. What else am I missing?
I think really the big thing for everybody to remember, and the last thing I probably would leave them with is this. This is a new time, and it's a scary time. And starting to try to teach your kid a little bit can be totally overwhelming, and you really might feel out of sorts about it. But you have to just always remember that you are not alone. The teachers who have your kids in class, and this one, I can speak to from all the years that I taught, they absolutely love your kids, and they really, really miss them. And they want this to work. They want to make sure that your kid is okay. So it's really important that you understand that you are not by yourself, that you are part of a team along with the teacher. So use them as a resource, but also try to give them a little bit of grace. I know when we've done online stuff with my kids before, usually the first time, and this even goes for, I have 2 kids in college, and this goes true for their college classes that went online this week. There were glitches, there were things that needed to be worked out. Just be patient and give the teachers grace, encourage them, try to let them know what's working and what isn't. Be kind, and that really goes a long way. And when you're in your house and you're doing your stuff and you're trying to figure stuff out, understand that they are there for you. Like, you are not in this by yourself. They are there for you. They can help you. If it's really something becomes overwhelming, put it down, walk away, go outside, have the kids do a couple Fit Kids moves or something, like that, just to get them moving a little bit.
Right.
And go back to whatever you need. But don't let this become something don't let it be something that causes you anxiety, or, you feel like you're, just out of sorts about it. Like I said, you all know how to parent. You've been doing it for years. So you can do this too. You really can.
Well, thank you so much for these tips. We appreciate everything that you've shared with us. I'll make sure that I include it in a quick tip sheet that I'll send out to all the families as well. And we hope that everybody has a great week. This coming week is going to be really interesting, and I'm excited to check back with Christy to see if there's anything that we missed or any new tips we could send out for you next week. So make sure that you send me a message and let me know if there's anything else you would like us to ask her, because she will definitely have some great feedback for us. I encourage everybody to just have a great week and stay positive and do the best you can, and don't get wrapped up in that hamster wheel of comparing your family's stuff with another family's. Just do what works best for you. And just like Christy said, you're the expert on your child, and you know them best. And if something isn't working, take a break and come back to it. But Christy, thank you so much for all of your help. We so appreciate it, and we will talk to you later. Thank you. Bye.